So I've just finished being the writer in residence for The Word, which was cool, and it's been a really nice project because I was born in South Shields, and I think this is the first time I've ever went on a national tour with a show and with an art project at the same time. So I'm going to all these places I've never been before and meeting new audiences, which is great. But what was lovely about doing the residency here was it's kept us a bit grounded, you know. It's kind of kept us thinking about where I was born and who I actually am and what that means and things like that. So it was been really lovely to do that and just have an excuse to do loads of nice things as well. Just like go to the beach for research.
Tell us a bit about door-to-door poetry and I guess where the idea came from and what made you want to knock on people's doors and write poems for them.
The way it works is like I knock on a door and I count to 45 in my head, and if no one answers then I move on, and that's basically usually what happens. But every now and again someone answers and I tell them I'm doing an art project and ask them if they've got a minute and 10 seconds to spare, and if they do, I do a poem, and the poem basically asks them what's important to them, and then hopefully by that point they're sold and I'm in. Or I should say, I've used the word sold, but I don't ask for any money as well, so it's a gift. And we have a conversation after the poem about whatever's important to them. I go away, I try and find 3 people in every place I visit, and then 2 weeks later I come back with all of the poems and I perform them on the doorstep for every person and give them a written copy as well. And in terms of like where it came from, I suppose I was thinking about what it means to be a poet. I come from a working class family and they've always been really supportive, but it's a bit of a weird job choice, you know? It's a strange thing to get up and say you want to do as a job. And so I suppose I was thinking a lot about that, like what the function of a poet is, what a poet's purpose is. And also about how I don't know any of my neighbours as well. So, I mean, I've lived in the area I live in Heaton for about 5 or 6 years now. And I don't think that's uncommon either, you know. I don't think people talk to the neighbours as much anymore. And I was thinking about why that is, about the rising kind of loneliness, like the news is reporting a loneliness epidemic now, apparently.
I was super interested in the stuff about Darras Hall and how you found that, because I grew up in Ponteland and it's like a weird, those houses are just all so huge, and I just wondered about how that was.
It was the one place where deep down I really genuinely thought people were just gonna not be into it, you know. And actually what was so interesting, I mean it seems obvious now I say it, but like, you know, everyone was different, everyone was from different places, had different stories. You know, some people had come from very humble beginnings, you know, and had ended up in Darras Hall and things like that, and like I say, it seems obvious now, but I think we all come with some kind of preconvictions about the other. And to me, that was the big one. It was like, that was the other, and the other does this, and they say this, and they act like this, you know?
I was just wondering if you had any ambition to encourage other door-to-door poets.
So I'm going all around England, knocking on doors all around England in 10 different places, and that's kind of how I'm going right now. And then when I finish that, I think I'm going to take a very long break, and I'd like to write a book. And after that, I want to, at some point in the distant future, start the school of door-to-door poetry.
Oh, wow.
So the idea would be that I go to a different country, maybe America or somewhere in Europe, and train a crack team of door-to-door poets,
Wow.
like the door-to-door poetry, the next generation, you know. So I'm really keen to do that, yeah.
Okay, that sounds super exciting. I mean, we've just seen Rowan's door-to-door poetry show, and it was just really interesting to see, and really, like, it were a lot about how, like, a lot of sort of people and a lot of working class people, just the reactions to poetry and the ideas that people have about poetry, and it was just so, like, interesting just to see, like, what just the little things in people's lives. It was just from little like everyone like found it really funny, but I also just thought it was like quite touching, just the story about the guy who thought he met his girlfriend in Greg's, and his girlfriend thought they went to the pictures for their first date, and just like little things like that. You don't know those things about people, and just seeing them being told as a story like that it was like just really nice and really touching. And then, I mean, I got onto some heavier things at points, but it was just so, like, when he talked about the guy Alan who talked about Brexit, but when it's said with like such passion and things, it really makes you go like, yeah, that's like, everyone should be like Alan and want to stand up to racists on the metro and things. And also the story of Boris was just lovely. And and again, it's just Boris lived on, I can't remember the name of the street, but the street that Benefit Street were filmed on, and just this sort of terror at the idea that BBC cameras were going to be there, but just the idea that Rowan's someone who's like going around and talking to those people and kind of looking beyond that image portrayed on Benefit Street. And I think it's not an uncommon opinion that Benefit Street is trash, but it was just really good to see like an account from someone who's actually like gone and spoken to someone and taken some interest like in their lives beyond that like thing that we've been shown about people who live on that street. And yeah, so I think that's just the thing overall, like everything from the sort of really heavy stories to the sillier stories that were just really like, it's just really like nice and makes you feel nicer about the world.